Thank you, everyone, to be here. Thank you to Common Good and the whole team of Windrider. It's my first time here, so thank you for like this amazing and really warm welcoming. Yeah, so it's a year of first times for me because Oasis is my first film, so it was like the first festival, first Windrider, first Sundance, and like first workshop and journey in all of it. And I learned so much this year, and I think that in filmmaking sometimes we have like doubt, we have fears, we have like so many questions, especially when you start. And I was really lucky to encounter beautiful and amazing people all the way through, here, abroad, in Montreal, where I'm from. And I learned so much from these people who remind me to trust myself and to, follow your instinct and follow what you're close to you when you're making film. And I'm just so grateful to all of these people, creators that I met. And I think that as what I learned, it's important to follow your personal stories because we're all unique and we all have things to say, and I think we have a lot to learn from each other, so thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Megan Ritchie. I work with Mockingbird Ministries. Justine, thank you so much for making this film available to us, and congratulations on the honor. I watched it 3 times yesterday and was gratefully kind of transported out of the cold, gray skies of Park City into the warm summers of Quebec, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Remy and Raphael, how you got to know them, and what your closeness allowed you to achieve in the really intimate scenes? I'm thinking of the tent. How did you get so close to them?
Yes, so backstory, I was their babysitter when I was younger. So I witnessed, I knew them since they were really little, like I was living in the same neighborhood as them. And when they were children, the difference between them was really less visible. They were always together, they were really like best friends to one another. And it's like witnessing them growing up and seeing that there's like this distance creating into their relationship, like this gap between each other that they cannot, like they are like following different paths, even if they're powerless about it, they cannot do anything about it. So yeah, and to talk about like this special relationship of being the babysitter, on the set when we shot for 4 days. And I was not the director for them. Of course, I was still the babysitter.
Right.
So, I use this approach to like make this film as a game. So like, I feel I could say like, oh, today we'll play soccer and tomorrow we'll make a film, and it's the same thing for them. So we really got into this world of filmmaking together, like that. They would participate to this film because it's not my film, but it's also their project to really get into that. And because we already have a relationship of trust that was built over time, I could really go with the camera and like their intimacy, having this like trust and respect between us. But like they were so curious about what we were doing, having like this camera. So we really get into their like bubble and their life together.
Did they ask you questions about why you were intrigued by their story? And how did you explain to them that you were wanting to both celebrate their commonalities and also notice their differences?
Yeah, when we shot the film, they were 14 years old, so they didn't really care about what I want to do. Like they're like teenage boys, and they feel like stars because they see a camera and they're like, oh my god, it's like for them it's really exciting. And I told them that and they are aware that they have this like special relationship and that it's not like every twins, and that they know that their relationship is changing, and they knew I wanted to do that. But since they didn't know anything about filmmaking, we taught them like, oh, this is the focus pulling and like all this technical aspect to making part of it. But they really trusted me, so it was just like documenting their life. That's what I wanted to do first. Yeah.
Though Remy and Raphael are the two clear characters in the story, it feels like a third person almost is the setting and the locations that you chose. I'm thinking of the differences between the skate park, a world in which their differences are seen. You know, he's shaping the balloons and his brother's on the ramps and people are commenting on their dynamic. And then they go to this summertime oasis where they're completely lifted out of the reality of who they are. And the settings were just so evocative and beautiful. And even the way that you shot the interviews with them on the dock, you know, that was just a really interesting choice. Can you say more about your choice of setting?
Yes, so I have a special connection with nature because I grew up doing camping in the summer in Quebec. So I was really inspired by like the forest and like this kind of bubble and like peaceful environment it creates. And the first question I asked myself before making a film, since I knew the twins, was what is left from their relationship when there's no external factors, especially as teenagers? So there's no phones, there's no friends, there's no parents, there's no social media. So it's like, what is the essence of it, and how am I going to capture it? And the way I think, and that would be important for them, is like going in this forest place, in this nature, and have like the core of what exists between them, but making this contrast with the skate park that for me represents the reality of like day-to-day life and like how does it impact their life. So the structure was really clear of making like a reality, so the skate park, going into this like kind of bubble or dreamy bubble of like, oh, this is like the ideal relationship and like how this is so precious between each other, and like talking about representing like the universality of siblings, brotherhood, friendship, and after coming back to tell the viewer like remember, it's not the life that they will know exactly. So and this character of forest, and like just to have like this poetic experience that you can. It's not about facts, but more about what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the feeling between them, despite how little they spoke, was so strong. Just in the gestures that they had towards one another. I'm thinking of the tent scene again, where they stick their tongues out at one another. Those are experiences that we can all relate to. That when you have a closeness with a sibling, are just like supercharged. And you got such an interesting glimpse into that. I think sort of rarely when I see films about disability, it seems like more often the disability, very often it is celebrated, but it is very specifically shown the differences in this person's manner or being. You really did seem committed to celebrating their commonalities and their differences. Was that because of your relationship with them, or because of how you wanted your viewers to understand disability?
Both. For me, Oasis is not a film about disability, but about brotherhood, first and foremost. And because I had this relationship, I knew them since years. So Raphael, for me, I never saw him as like characterized by his disability. It's like he has an old personality, humor, and sometimes I feel that we try to point out disability and make a film about it, but like the personality of Raphael is so much more, and it's like I want to celebrate who he is in his entire self, and on the other side, having Remy seeing his brother as his brother, and that's it. And that's important sometimes to go into more like a universal values, and it's there, we understand it, but we can go in the other nuances and levels that like they're brothers and they have differences and similarities. So that was my approach, to really get like in the subtleties of it and talking more about emotions than facts, and information, because I don't think the point of my film was to talk about specificity of his disability. We don't name it, we don't talk about it, and this is like a specific choice I made to really like embrace who he is and is entirely.
I have one last question and then we'll open it up to the audience. So you knew them as well as you did. Was there anything specifically about the filmmaking process that kind of surprised you or changed the way that you understood them? Or is there a way that your relationship with them changed the way that you expected the filmmaking process to go?
Yeah, there's so much to say about it. There's nothing that changed because like I stayed the babysitter and I think I'm gonna stay the babysitter forever. So so that like was really like an established relationship. But it was my first film and they taught me so much about how to make documentary, because I had like this really like plan and like clear intentions that they will tell me about their memories together. They're like, they will tell me so much, but they are 14-year-old and what they want to go with, when they want to do is play and not talk to me. Like they are in the forest and they're like, well, let's go swimming. I don't want to talk about it. So instead of forcing it in a filmmaking way and like the old process, I really learned to adapt to the situation, to what is offering to me and what they show to me, and like really go into it and follow them and trust them in the process. And as I said, it's not a film, it's not my film, it's their film as well. So I think that what was really interesting in this process was to make them part of this film and making them participate in the craft. And since like Oasis, I really want this like colorful universe, poetic universe with like a specific cinematography. I really wanted to like they chose their clothes together, like they had like these artistic choices that they got really involved in the process. So it taught me like a lot about adaptation and follow your character and trust who is in front of the camera.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the audience?
This is actually my second opportunity watching the film, and the first time I watched it, I didn't actually realize, because it was in a block of short films that was a mixture of narrative and documentary, and I didn't actually realize it was a documentary until the first interview shot. And I think, to me, I just felt like the cinematography was so, like, it felt more like a narrative that I think, and I say that like in a good way. And I was just wondering, like, how specific was that choice, or was it just something that sort of happened, like the environment and the situations and like everything that happened, it just played out so beautifully that it seemed everything intentionally placed?
Yes, thank you for your question. It was a clear choice since the beginning. I love documentary, and when I was in university, I got a really interesting class about the thin line between fiction and reality, and how your brain, when you are listening to a drama, your brain shifts like in a state of mind state that is similar to the dream state. And I was asking myself, why do we cry? Why do we have fear? Why do we care so much sometimes for characters that don't exist in real life? And why documentary is not as popular as drama? And I feel that sometimes it's because there's this intellectual effort that you have to place yourself in listening to a documentary. So I was like, oh, maybe I could try to make a documentary where you have like this like a more emotional involvement in it, and how like rather than putting facts, it's gonna be more like an emotional journey throughout the film. And I wanted really to play with this line that you can there's no limit to documentary. You can create your own universe, and like you can really go with clear intentions. And I really want to blur this line to make us think about what state are we in when we listen to documentary and fiction, and how do we care to the characters that are represented on screen.
Any more questions? Right here in the front row.
Justine, obviously you have a very close relationship with the family. We just see the boys in the film. Just curious, how did it go? What was the process like talking with their parents, or and did they have any concerns? How have they viewed what's happened and since the film has been released? Just curious about that.
Yeah, it was a long journey. Actually, I was really, since I was a babysitter, the mother really trusted me. And fun fact, when we went to the forest, it was the first time that the boys were leaving their house for more than a night without their parents. So we really had beyond documentary and filmmaking, we really had this, I really wanted to create this memory for them and having this experience in their life that will be significant or fun for them. So it was really participation and trust with the family. And after they really trusted me in the process of editing, post-production, and I didn't know that the film would have success like that, because Oasis was the film I did for my portfolio after graduating from university. So it was I was calling the mother and oh, we got there, and we got this, and all the selections and how we traveled with the film. And something happened in the process of it is when I called the mom to say, oh, now it's ready, I want the twins to see the film. She told me that the twins were not living together anymore, and that one was living with his father, that was not necessarily the best influence for him, and Raphael stayed with his mother. And that made Raphael really, really sad and torn about it, because twins have such a special bond, and they have such a special bond. So it was really heartbreaking, and I was I cannot show the film to only Raphael or to only Remy. I have to wait. And in my head, the film was going well, but I was I didn't reach my first audience, and it's so important. And slowly it grows the idea that the film was not only a film, but maybe a tool that would be a moment of when they would be back together, they could remember some of the images, some of the souvenirs that we shot, and that it would mean more than just a film I did. And this moment happens, of course, they're teenagers, so they came back all together, and they had we had this really precious moment of viewing the film, and that they reminding oh yes, we did that. And this is where Raphael saw how Remy is taking care of him, and he was oh, thank you, Remy, I noticed that. And so it was really a special screening with them. Yeah.
I'll take one more audience question, and then I have one last for you here.
Hi, this is so amazing, by the way. I'm a twin, so I was watching this and I was oh my goodness. And this year is the year that my sister and I, towards the last half of the year, we'll be living in different cities. And so watching this and hearing that story, I was oh, it's getting real, this is so crazy. And so I just want to say thank you for telling this wonderful story and focusing on the brotherhood aspect of it. And so my question to you is, for your family, how is this, I don't know if you have siblings or not, but how has this film kind of translated to your family, how you view your siblings?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have actually the theme of, the thin line between childhood and adulthood is a theme that I'm really interested in exploring in my work. And I have a younger sister. And it was a hard time for me when when I moved in Montreal and she stayed in my parents' house, and I had a lot of nostalgic memories of we were so close when we were smaller, and now it's so different. It's not worse, it's just different, and it's the life and the steps of growing up. So this is maybe it's in the unconscious, but I chose to, we can tell the story of Raphael and Remy in so different ways, but in a personal way, the angle I choose to show and to tell was the thin line between childhood and adulthood. Yeah.
So this is your very first film. What can we look forward to from you in the future, and how can we support your work?
Thank you. actually, like, I think the thing that for me as a filmmaker, the most important thing I did with this film is like reach my audience and like having this dialogue and this conversation, and how a film can just for like some minutes or some hours in a day can like do a small difference in someone's life, and that's for me like the power of cinema. What's next? I'm coming back from Montreal, and I'm taking a bit of rest because we were on the short list, and that was like a really intense journey. And I'm trying to. I'm developing this project where I want to film the twins for 10 to 15 years to really witness and document their entrance in adulthood, and how like the normal steps of life will be so different to one another, and how they perceive that in like the life of both. And yeah, just being here, it means a lot for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.